Good
Hello.
morning, all of you. Good morning. Wherever you may find yourself, whatever time zone, thank you for joining us. My name is Maarten Bavinck from the University of Amsterdam, and I will be hosting this two-day seminar on small, low-cost fish from bait to plate. This seminar has emerged from the activities of 4 ongoing research projects that I will introduce to you in a moment, as well as from inputs by the Fisheries and Aquaculture and the Food Security and Nutrition divisions of FAO. The organizing committee, and I'll show you the list of names, started its preparations about a year ago, hoping to organize an in-person event in FAO headquarters in Rome. The COVID-19 pandemic has upset these plans, however, as it has upset so many other things in the world, including the workings of small, low-cost fish chains. We shall touch on the effects of COVID-19 at various points in this program. Let me briefly introduce the topic of the seminar. First of all, as you will have noted from the title, we define the object of our discussions as small, low-cost fish. Both adjectives, small and low-cost, beg further explanation. Small stands opposed to large fish that often go for large prices at faraway markets, and low-cost refers to fish that have small price tags attached and often are locally traded. In other words, we are dealing with fish that are particularly accessible for low-income consumers in developing countries. Many of these species belong to the so-called small pelagics, but it is good to realize that not all small pelagics are necessarily low-cost all the time. There may be other species, both marine and inland, that sell for low prices during at least part of the year. Some species that are normally high in price, let's take tuna, sometimes end up being sold for low prices on local markets. And normally low-price fish, let's say sardines or the daga or omena of Lake Victoria, can end up being sold for prices that are not at all affordable for poor people. In short, it is difficult to be precise in defining what the basket of small, low-cost fish actually consists of, as its composition may vary from place to place and day to day. But there is a simpler way to indicate the kind of fish we will be talking about. It is the numerous fish at the bottom of the seafood pyramid with the least societal status, the highest levels of decomposition and chemical additives, the lowest prices, and frequently handled by the smallest of enterprises. It is for scientists and policymakers the most invisible and maybe sometimes even contemptible of fish in the marketplace with, paradoxically, often the highest levels of nutritional value. The seminar's title also makes reference to a movement from bait to plate, and it is here that we make use of a supply chain perspective whereby fish originates in its aquatic ecology and moves through harvesting and processing activities as well as trade to markets and consumers living close by or at many kilometers distance from their original habitat. The actors in these supply chains face many obstacles, and it is to identifying and addressing these that this seminar is dedicated. You will note, by the way, that the seminar's program is largely organized according to segments in the supply chain so that we can examine these in a step-by-step fashion. Finally, we are particularly interested in the contribution small, low-cost fish make to food and nutrition security of the poor, whether rural or urban. We realize that after many years in which the absolute number of poor people in the world has been reducing, the COVID-19 crisis is again pushing many people into poverty. Food and nutrition security we define according to FAO's 4 classical dimensions of availability, accessibility, quality, and stability with sustainability and agency offering new perspectives again. What then is our goal? By sharing insights from recent research on the topic, we hope to prompt further interest in and discussion about this very special section of the seafood industry and its relevance to food and nutrition security. In the end, we hope to advance scientific knowledge as well as policy applications, thereby pressing forward or at least safeguarding the role of small low-cost fish for food and nutrition security. It is with this in mind that as a follow-up to this seminar, we are planning a technical paper with FAO for which we will be seeking more inputs. I shall return to this in the course of today and tomorrow. Now to present the 4 research projects funded by different donors and with overlapping research teams that support this seminar's program. In alphabetical sequence by acronym, Dried Fish Matters, which has a geographical scope enveloping both South and Southeast Asia, funded by from Canadian sources and focusing mainly on dried fish. Fish for Food, which focuses on South Asia and West Africa and funded by the Dutch Research Council and focusing mainly on urban consumers. Third project is ICAN F3, which limits itself to Indonesia, has funding also by the Dutch Research Council and looks at rural consumers. And then Small Fish Food, which has an African focus, is funded by the European Union and looks especially at indigenous species. Researchers taking part in these projects will contribute presentations on a rich range of topics during the course of the next 2 days. Before handing the floor to our 2 distinguished opening speakers, there are a few announcements to make. First, please note that the entire seminar is being recorded. If you prefer not to have yourself identified, you are requested to change your profile and turn off the video function. Second, please turn off your microphone if you are not speaking. This can be done by pressing the microphone symbol at the bottom left of your screen. And finally, note that this Zoom webinar allows you to pose questions to speakers and via a separate channel to chat with one another. Please don't post casual conversations in the Q&A section or questions in the chat section, as then everyone will be getting confused. I now have the privilege to open the seminar and introduce the first of our 2 keynote speakers. Dr. Nancy Aburto is Deputy Director of the Food and Nutrition Division of FAO and has a PhD in Nutrition Sciences. Prior to joining FAO, she spent many years working for the World Food Programme and as adjunct professor for Rollins School of Public Health at Emory University. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dr. Aburto, and for your willingness to share experiences and insights. And please take the floor.